Declaration of Independence. Next.
Good evening, one and all. Welcome to Monday night. I'm a bit concerned. The chat room's a bit empty. I've only got beats and tapes. What's going on? Are you not coming to watch? Do we not entertain you? Wrestle Mechanic, Mark Andrew Chapman. Good evening. You guys are leaving it to the last kick now. Regulars, seasoned regulars. Oh, right. Here we go. Good evening and welcome to another episode of True Crime. This was originally going to be a video. However, I decided after the disappointing performance of the Glasgow airport one, that I thought I'd give it a shot as a stream and see how it goes, because videos aren't doing well, but streams are doing very well. So we'll pivot, as they say, as Ross would say when taking the sofa up the stairs. Pivot! So, tonight we're diving into one of the most devastating terrorist attacks in British history. The 7/7 London bombings. But this isn't just another rehash of events you think you know. This is a forensic examination of intelligence failures so catastrophic they defy belief. Conspiracy theories that range from completely fabricated to genuinely concerning. And the disturbing truth about how 4 ordinary young men became mass murderers. On July the 7th, 2005, at exactly 8:50 AM, right in rush hour, 3 bombs exploded within 50 seconds of each other across London's transport network. Here's what most people don't know. The security services had the names, addresses, phone numbers, and photographs of the bombers 16 months before they struck. So why didn't they stop them? Good question, you ask. What I'm about to share with you will challenge everything you thought you knew about 7/7. We're going to examine intelligence failures that led to 52 innocent deaths. Forensic evidence that includes some of the most disturbing discoveries in modern terrorism. And we'll answer the question that keeps security experts awake at night. Could this happen again? Good evening, Shalini. Beats and Tapes, Mark Andrew Chapman, Espresso Mechanic TV. I didn't know the world was going to end tomorrow, Beats and Tapes. That would be unfortunate, because I've got stuff planned. Is it in the morning, afternoon, or evening? I may have to reschedule my day. Right, before we dive into the evidence, let me tell you what we're going to uncover in this investigation. First, we'll examine the minute-by-minute timeline. And remember, minute by minute, you can chat with me and keep me occupied as I read this script that I wrote, which was meant to be a video, but as I said, I'm trying it as a live stream. If you're on the vertical chat, good evening and welcome. To chat on vertical as in horizontal, you just need to be a subscriber to the channel. It costs nothing, not 1 shekel, and there's no time delay. Soon as you subscribe, you can chat. Right. The minute-by-minute timeline of how 4 men from Leeds executed Britain's deadliest terrorist attack with military precision. Was it? Killing 52 people and injuring over 770 others. Second, I'll reveal the shocking intelligence failures. 12 separate opportunities to stop these bombers that were missed, ignored, or bungled by the very agencies meant to protect us. Third, We'll analyse the conspiracy theories that emerge from this tragedy. Some are complete fiction, but others point to legitimate concerns about what really went wrong during that day. And fourth, we'll examine the forensic evidence that's rarely discussed publicly. Probably won't help the range of the channel, including the disturbing discovery of human body parts becoming projectiles embedded in survivors. And finally, using evidence-based analysis, I'll assess whether an attack like this could happen again. The answer probably won't surprise you. So, the most disturbing aspect of the 7/7 attacks wasn't their sophistication, it was their ordinariness. These weren't hardened international terrorists. They were British-born citizens who, by all outward appearances, seemed integrated into society. Mohammed Sadiq Khan, aged 30, was the ringleader. The man worked as a learning mentor at a primary school in Leeds, so children looked up to him as a father figure. His colleagues described him as dedicated to helping troubled kids. Yet this same man would orchestrate the murder of 52 innocent people. Born in Leeds on October the 20th, 1974, Khan was the youngest of 6 children to Pakistani immigrant parents. Friends recalled a westernised young man who called himself Sid. At some time in his not his mid-90s, the mid-90s, Khan became interested in Wahhabi fundamentalism, which pitted him against his family's traditional approach to Islam. Shehzad Tanweer, aged 22, was a sports science student from a prominent business family. He excelled at cricket, triple jump, long distance running, football and martial arts. His father owned a fish and chip shop. And the family was well respected in the community. But around age 16, something changed. He became increasingly religious and eventually left university to focus on religious studies. Pakistani relatives later said that Tanweer had boasted of wanting to die as a holy warrior and was enamoured with Osama bin Laden. Jermaine Lindsay, just 19 years old, was born in Jamaica. You can't say Jamaica with that accent. Oh my God. And moved to Britain as an infant. He was described as an articulate, artistic and musical. He converted to Islam in 2000 alongside his mother, but his radicalisation was influenced by extremist preacher Abdullah al-Faisal, who was later imprisoned for incitement to murder. Lindsay had married twice, first divorcing his wife after 8 days because she objected to his wish to take a second wife. What can I say? Hasib Hussain, the youngest at 18, was a quiet student with poor academic performance. But here's a chilling detail. This teenager wrote Al-Qaeda, No Limits, in his religious educational schoolbook, and openly called the 9/11 attackers martyrs. Teachers noted behavioural changes, and family members expressed concern about his associations. All 4 men were connected through Beeston, a diverse but deprived area of Leeds. The local mosques, youth clubs and Islamic bookshops provided the social framework where they met and their extremist views were nurtured. Khan used his position as a youth mentor to identify potential recruits for indoctrination. The group regularly engaged in outdoor activities including camping, whitewater rafting and paintballing, activities that on the surface looked like innocent team-building exercises, but were actually building group cohesion for their terrorist mission. Hello, Vaughn. Good to see you. So, are you enjoying it so far? Remember, if you're in the vertical chat, you can chat just by becoming a subscriber. No time, no waiting. The timeline of terror. Here we go, July the 7th, 2005. It began like any other morning. 4 men left Leeds in a rented Nissan Micra in the early hours, embarking on what they knew would be their final journey. 3 of the bombers, you think if you knew it was your final journey, why wouldn't you rent a decent motor? Sorry. But anyway, 3 of the bombers, Khan, Tanweer and Hussein, left their rented flat in Leeds, which has been used as a bomb-making factory. They drove to Luton to meet their 4th accomplice. Jermaine Lindsay arrived at Luton Station and was seen sleeping in his car until the accomplices arrived. Nothing unusual there. Jamaican sleeping in the car. The 4 men united in the car park of Luton Station. Witnesses saw them opening the boots of their car and taking out large rucksacks, each now known to contain 2 to 5 kilos of explosives. The 4 men caught the delayed Bedford to Brighton train bound for London King's Cross. A witness reported that the bombers appeared relaxed and in high spirits, a chilling detail that shows their commitment to their mission. 8:23 a.m. The train arrived at King's Cross and the bombers disembarked. They were seen hugging before they headed their separate ways. Khan went to board a westbound Circle Line train, Tanweer an eastbound Circle Line train, and Lindsay a southbound Piccadilly Line train. Hussein initially walked towards the Piccadilly Line entrance, but later left King's Cross Station after failing to board the train. Was he getting cold feet? 8:49 a.m. 3 bombs exploded on the underground within 50 seconds of each other. Aldgate Station, Shazad Tanweer detonated his bomb on an eastbound Circle Line train. The explosion in the second carriage killed 7 people and injured 171. Good God, how many people were in that carriage? Forensic evidence showed Tanweer was sitting with a rucksack bomb next to him on the floor. Edgware Road Station, Mohammed Sadiq Khan, the leader, targeted the westbound Circle Line train. His bomb killed 6 people and injured 163. Witnesses reported seeing Khan manipulating his rucksack moments before the explosion. Russell Square. Hi, Julie. This was the deadliest single incident. Jermaine Lindsay detonated his device on a southbound Piccadilly Line train between King's Cross and Russell Square. The explosion in the crowded first carriage killed 26 people and injured over 340. The train was severely overcrowded with 127 people in the first carriage alone. 9:24 a.m. Hussein was last seen on CCTV. He went on to board a number 91 bus westbound, then transferred to a number 30 bus. 9:47 a.m. Nearly an hour after the tube bombings, Hussein detonated his device on the upper deck of a crowded double-decker at Tavistock Square, killing 13 people and injuring 110. The blast occurred outside the headquarters of the BMA, the British Medical Association, where several senior doctors were on hand as the building became an impromptu casualty station. Psychological impact was immediate and devastating. London's transport network, the lifeline of the city, had been turned into a weapon of mass destruction. But as horrific as these attacks were, what happened next in the investigation revealed failures that were almost as shocking as the bombs themselves. Now, here we come to the part of this story that should make your blood boil. 7/7 attacks represented one of the most significant intelligence failures in British history. Official reports later identified 12 clear opportunities to prevent these bombings between 2003 and July 2005. The most damaging revelation was that the bombers' direct connection to Operation Crevice, a major counter-terrorism investigation targeting a separate Al-Qaeda cell planning to use fertiliser bombs against British targets. Khan and Tanweer were photographed multiple times meeting with members of this group. Think about this carefully. Khan's name, phone number, car registration and address were all on file with MI5 16 months before the attack. He was secretly recorded talking about terrorism with the Crevice Group's leader. Yet despite all this evidence, he was dismissed as a fringe contact, involved only in credit card fraud. Where have we seen this before? If you actually did watch the Glasgow airport bombings, those attackers were also described as fringe contacts by our security services. To understand the magnitude of this failure, consider that Crevice was the largest operation MI5 and the police had ever undertaken. It involved 30 addresses searched, 45,000 man-hours devoted to monitoring and transcription, 20 CCTV operations, and 34,000 man-hours of surveillance, multiple covert searches and eavesdropping devices. Despite this massive operation, when arrests were made in March 2004, no effort was made to follow up on peripheral contacts like Khan and Tanweer, who would later become the 7/7 bombers. According to French security services, London bombers belonged to the same network as those partially arrested in Operation Crevice. The French stated that British authorities had identified a total of 13 presumed terrorists, of whom 8 were arrested and 5 were permitted to evade arrest to allow police to intensify surveillance. Among the 5 who escaped was Mohammed Sadiq Khan, who was Scotland Yard's target list of suspected terrorists for 15 months. The intelligence failures were systemic and catastrophic. A fax from MI5 to West Yorkshire Police raising suspicions about Khan and Tanweer just went missing. We don't have it. We sent it. We don't have it. Khan's name was spelled inconsistently across different intelligence databases, making it difficult to trace connections. And there was poor information sharing between agencies. To give you a picture, I mean, when I left the police, information sharing still wasn't great. The Police National Computer was still at that stage a green screen. I don't know what it is. In fact, I don't think it is anymore, but at that point it was a green screen basically. It was just command line stuff. And it wasn't particularly fast. So, multiple trips to Pakistan by known peripheral contacts should have triggered enhanced surveillance. Khan and Tanweer travelled to Pakistan between November 2004 and February 2005, where they received Al-Qaeda training and recorded martyrdom videos. Pakistani authorities later provided evidence of their arrival in Dubai. Yet this travel pattern was not flagged as suspicious. These aren't minor oversights. These are systemic failures of the most basic investigative procedures. Names, addresses, phone numbers, photographs, recorded conversations, all about terrorism, all ignored or mishandled by the agencies that are supposed to be protecting us. One of the most disturbing and rarely discussed aspects of the 7/7 investigation was the forensic evidence that emerged from the blast sites. The forensic investigation conducted by multiple agencies, including the Metropolitan Police Counter-Terrorism Command and Defence Science and Technology Laboratory, provided conclusive evidence of the attack methodology. The bombs were made from homemade explosives based on hydrogen peroxide, specifically triacetone triperoxide, or TATP, with ground black peppercorns used as an accelerant. Devices were detonated using 9-volt battery systems. The coroner at the inquest noted that the main ingredient was easier to buy than large quantities of aspirin pills. Although the bombers bought large amounts of hydrogen peroxide in the months before the attacks, none of the sellers alerted police with any concerns. Perhaps the most disturbing discovery was the phenomenon of human projectile implantation. Forensic analysis identified 12 cases where bone fragments from the bombers and other victims became embedded in survivors' bodies due to the explosive force. DNA analysis confirmed that 8 of these fragments originated from the bombers themselves. This provided definitive proof of their presence at the blast sites and the nature of their death. All victims within a 2-metre radius of the blast sites were affected by human projectile injuries. The medical implications were serious. All victims with human projectile implantation required prophylaxis against bloodborne diseases, including hepatitis B, with serum stored for appropriate action against HIV and hepatitis C. The bomber's DNA was confirmed at all 4 blast sites. CCTV footage showed all 4 at King's Cross Station at 8:26 a.m. Phone records confirmed contact attempts between the bombers. This evidence provided 99% confidence in the identification of the perpetrators. Police raids at 18 Alexandra Grove in Leeds 5 days after the attacks uncovered the bomb-making facility. The flat contained a bath full of chemicals, pans used to boil hydrogen peroxide, hot plates connected to fans used to concentrate the hydrogen peroxide, plastic tubs holding yellow-brown explosive sludge, respirators and detonators, and packaging from items bought for the devices. 3 of the men, Khan, Tanweer and Hussein, were forensically linked to this bomb factory. The car they used to travel from Leeds to Luton also contained explosive devices and other bomb-making materials. Let's dig into the conspiracy theories. This is where it always gets good. So the 7/7 attacks generated numerous conspiracy theories. You can see it happen every day. Just on Twitter, you see them popping up. That's not really dead. That's a she, not a he. It happens all the time. So, ranging from completely unfounded allegations to legitimate concerns about intelligence failures. Let's follow the evidence. So let's separate the facts from the speculations. Aliens probably did help them beat some tapes, yeah. So the most persistent conspiracy theory claims that the British government orchestrated the attacks as a false flag operation to justify the war on terror. This theory, promoted in videos like 7/7 Ripple Effect, alleges that the 4 bombers were unwitting patsies who were tricked into travelling to London and were actually murdered at Canary Wharf. There is absolutely no credible evidence supporting this theory. The Metropolitan Police Intelligence and Security Committee and multiple inquiries concluded they were suicide bombers who deliberately carried out the attacks. CCTV footage shows the bombers at Luton Station and King's Cross. Eyewitness testimony places them at the scenes, and forensic evidence directly links them to the explosions. Yes, thank you on the rabbit hole stuff, Shalini. So one of the most discussed aspects is the Peter Power drill coincidence. Here we go. So, crisis management exercise being conducted by Peter Power of Visor Consultants on the morning of the attack. Power revealed that his company was running a simulation involving simultaneous bombs at railway stations similar to where the real attacks occurred. While this coincidence is striking, there's no evidence of government involvement. And Power's exercise was a private drill for a corporate client, not a government organisation. Emergency services regularly conduct such exercises, and the existence of the drill just doesn't imply foreknowledge. And to be fair, he kind of put a bit of egg on it. This was just a tabletop exercise. There wasn't anybody out on the street or anything like that. They just sat in a room and went, what if a bomb went off here? How would your people get to work and how would you continue your business? That's the kind of drill it was. The train timing error. So early conspiracy theories focused on a government error regarding train schedules. The government initially claimed the bombers caught a train from Luton that had actually been cancelled. However, the government later apologised for this error and confirmed the bombers caught an earlier delayed train, still arriving at London more or less on time. It was a human error in initial reporting, not really evidence of a cover-up. The most credible concerns relate to the documented intelligence failures. Official reports confirmed that MI5 and police missed 12 clear opportunities to identify and stop the bombers. And these failures included dismissing Khan and Tanweer as peripheral contacts despite their documented meetings with known terrorists, failing to follow up after the Crevice arrest, poor information sharing between agencies, an inadequate assessment of travel patterns to Pakistan. Yeah, I know, Peter Power, what a name. Research shows that the conspiracy theories about 7/7 have found significant acceptance among the public. A 2007 survey found that 24% of British Muslims believed the four bombers blamed for the attacks did not perform them. Oh? More broadly, 18% of the UK population believes the government has been involved in orchestrating terror attacks, while 22% believe it has deliberately allowed such attacks to happen. So the connection between the 7/7 bombers and Al-Qaeda was established through multiple sources and represents one of the clearest documented cases of international terrorist direction of domestic attacks. 3 of the 4 bombers travelled to Pakistan prior to the attacks. Khan, Tanweer, they travelled together between November 24 and February 2004 and 2005, while Hussein also visited Pakistan separately. Pakistani authorities confirmed their arrival in Karachi via Istanbul on Turkish Airlines flight TK1056 on November the 19th, 2004. They stayed in Pakistan for 4 months, during which they received Al-Qaeda training. According to Western intelligence sources, Khan was taken to a suspected Al-Qaeda training camp in Pakistan by Mohammed Junaid Babar, an Al-Qaeda operative now in US custody. Tanweer also attended a training camp run by Harkat ul-Mujahideen, the Movement for Holy Warriors. That was in the remote Mansehra area near the Kashmir border. This group was involved in the kidnapping and murder of Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Perot in 2002. In 2012, CNN's good at this, aren't they? Obtained access to a 46-page internal Al-Qaeda document written by British operative Rashid Rauf that provided detailed insights into the 7/7 attacks. The document revealed that Rauf recruited both Khan and Tanweer, arranged their explosives training in Pakistan's tribal areas, and communicated with them extensively in the months leading up to the attacks. The document was discovered by German authorities embedded in a pornographic movie on a memory disk. That's one way of hiding it. Both Khan and Tanweer recorded martyrdom videos while in Pakistan, which were later released by Al-Qaeda's media arm. As Sahab, Khan's video was released on September the 1st, 2005, and showed him alongside Al-Qaeda's deputy leader Ayman al-Zawahiri, though they did not appear together in the same frame. Tanweer's video was broadcast by Al Jazeera on July the 6th, 2006, in which he warned of further attacks. They probably would have been, Mark. So, could it happen again? This brings us to the critical question. Could a 7/7 style attack happen again? 20 years later, the terrorist threat to the UK remains substantial. The nature of that threat has evolved significantly. The current threat landscape. The UK's national threat level is currently set at substantial, meaning an attack is likely. Islamist terrorism remains the foremost terrorist threat to the UK, while extreme right-wing terrorism is also a growing concern. Between 2018 and 2023, 9 terrorist attacks occurred in the UK. 39 terrorist plots were disrupted. I believe they were all Islamic. The threat has evolved in several concerning ways. Online radicalisation has fundamentally transformed how people become extremists. Vulnerable individuals can now be radicalised entirely online without requiring physical contact with extremist networks. Although this doesn't really apply to the Islamic route, which tend to be based around religious centres and bookshops. Youth radicalisation is particularly concerning, with some individuals coming to security attention as early as age 13. The time between the initial exposure to extremist content and actual attack execution has shortened dramatically, from an average of 16 months in 2002 to just 12 weeks by 2020. Significant improvements have been made since 2005, though. The contest strategy updated in 2023 provides a comprehensive framework for counter-terrorism. Intelligence sharing has improved dramatically, with better coordination between agencies and enhanced international cooperation. Although given Starmer's actions yesterday, that might be taking a bit of a hit. The sustained counter-terrorism pressure has degraded the operational capabilities of major terrorist organisations, making directed attacks more difficult to organise and execute. The PREVENT programme, while controversial to say the least, represents a systematic attempt to address radicalization at its source. The program focuses on three key objectives: tackling the ideological causes of terrorism, intervening early to support people before they become terrorists, and rehabilitating those who've already engaged in terrorist activity. Yeah, I can think of various rehabilitation strategies. Based on the evidence, a 7/7 style coordinated attack involving multiple suicide bombers remains possible, but probably less likely than in 2005. The operational complexity required for coordinating multiple simultaneous attacks increases the chances of detection by modern security services. However, the risk of smaller scale attacks by lone actors or small cells remains high and may actually be increasing. These attacks, while potentially less deadly than 7/7, could cause significant casualties and psychological impact. Robin reckons that 7/7 was an inside job. I don't believe so, Robin. There's nothing to indicate that. And where's the benefit? What's the benefit? And as Mark Andrew Chapman points out, it's a good job we don't have a load of unknown people coming into the country with who knows what intent. That is a good job, Mark. Indeed. Fear of what? We've already got enough fear. We don't need to generate more. The fundamental conditions that enabled the 2005 bombings, social alienation, ideological extremism, and potential intelligence failures remain present. The threat landscape has become more diverse and complex, including domestic threats that can be less predictable and harder to detect. Most future terrorist plots will likely employ simple methods that can be developed with ease and at speed. Only through continued vigilance, improved community relations, and sustained investment in counter-terrorism capabilities can the risk be minimised. Or, dare I say it, we need to have less diversity? They did indeed, Shalini. They did indeed. 7/7 London bombings teach us that, well, what does it teach us? That terrorism can emerge from the most unexpected quarters? Well, given the percentage of terrorism that's conducted in the world by Islam, then this wasn't an unexpected quarter, was it? So one really has to look at our security services with a very critical eye here. They dropped the ball big time. 52 people lost their lives that day because the security services dropped the ball big time. And those very agencies that were meant to protect them missed numerous opportunities to pick up on these four guys. And remember, they were already under surveillance. They'd been dismissed as just fringe players. The forensic evidence, including that disturbing discovery of human projectile, provides irrefutable proof of what happened on the day. Conspiracy theories, while psychologically understandable, are contradicted by the evidence, by that forensic evidence, by eyewitness statements. And yes, there are people that say they saw a big white light and then the floor seemed to erupt as if it came from underneath. But set a bomb off in a train in a tunnel. Where's the shockwave going, all around? The real lesson of 7/7 is not that the governments orchestrate attacks against their own people, not on this occasion, but that democratic societies with sophisticated intelligence capabilities can fail to prevent determined terrorists. And you see this time and time again. I mean, and look at the guy that ran into the Liverpool crowd. You know, why? Why would a government organise that? It's a fairly minor event in the grand scheme of things. Very unlikely. The memorial in Hyde Park, with its 52 steel pillars representing each victim, serves as a permanent reminder of the cost of these failures. Each pillar stands as a testament to a life lost and a future denied. And as we remember the victims of 7/7, we must also remember the responsibility we all share to remain vigilant against those who would use violence to achieve their goals. 20 years later, the threat has evolved, but it's certainly not disappeared. The challenge for any democratic society is maintaining effective defences while preserving the open democratic values that make it worth defending in the first place. And, you know, digital ID wouldn't have made the slightest bit of difference to the outcome of this. The legacy of 7/7 should be better intelligence sharing, improved community relations, and an unwavering commitment to protecting innocent life. Not hounding people for tweets they may or may not have said on social media. Not going after kids and demanding their phones. Yes, some people are clueless. You do see folk with earbuds in and looking at phones, not paying attention. I mean, my daughter doesn't regularly travel by bus until she started going to college on a, after, well, she goes to college now, so she travels on a bus and she gets a bus pass, so it's sensible. But I took her the first time and briefed her on what to do. Oh God. I suppose it sounds crazy. I mean, I sound like an overprotective dad, but you know, she sometimes gets a sore leg, so she carries a can of what's it called? What was that? Ralgex, the heat spray, something like that. She carries a can of that just in case, the pain in her leg or her back gets bad. She doesn't use her headphones on the bus. Pays attention. She sits either on her own or beside women. If she's sitting on her own, she sits in the outside seat and not next to the window. If there's anyone that wants to sit beside her, you can get up and let them in, leaving her the exit seat. Don't sit at the back, don't sit at the front, sit in the middle. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Yeah, deep heat. That's it, Shailene. Carry that. You can't stop someone, no. But what you can do is you can minimise the risk. So that's kind of the investigation into 7/7. I don't know if you're disappointed by that. There's no great revelations other than the security services made a complete and utter mess of it. And as always, I will be putting up the full report onto sergeantgrumpy.com, where you'll see where you can do your own research as well, because you should always do your own research. It's like, it could have been bits and tapes. It could have been the aliens. Again, when you're looking at these things, you have to keep things simple, because people aren't overly complicated. So the most complicated solution is probably going to be the least likely. And unless you've got something, I mean, if you're trying to promote like a war on terror because somebody's got weapons of mass destruction that might be gaseous in nature, then if you were a government, wouldn't you set off some kind of I mean, this is just hypothetical now, right? But if you were a government and you wanted to make people frightened of WMD, wouldn't you arrange some kind of gas attack rather than, you know, just setting off regular homemade bombs, you know? Oh, so this investigation, as always, has been based on official reports, forensic evidence, court proceedings, and research. And I strongly suggest you have counterpoints to your own research. Do not rely on people's videos. Do not rely on this video. 7/7 Ripple Effect is full of factual errors. Absolutely full of them. It's quite sad. And a lot of them are fairly easy to check up on. And while conspiracy theories persist, the evidence overwhelmingly supports the conclusion that 4 British-born suicide bombers inspired and trained by Al-Qaeda carried out these deadly terror attacks in modern British history. Real tragedy lies not in imagined conspiracies, but in the very real intelligence failures that allowed these attacks to succeed. That's the biggest takeaway from this, is that our intelligence services are barely fucking competent. They really are. And they've probably been infected by the woke mind virus as well, to be fair. And they're stumbling about from point to point with their finger up their arse. And the hell, that's about it for this evening, I think. Oh, hey, maybe we should look into that again. I haven't seen that for a wee while, have we? The clowns. Remember the clown, the scary clown? The scary clown phase. That was quite interesting when people were standing at the side of the road dressed as clowns. Maybe have a look at that. Did we not even do a rabbit hole on that? I think we might have at some point. I need to dig through the archives. Maybe I should make a compilation of stupid rabbit holes. The scary clown people. It's getting near Halloween. We're going to need to have a Halloween intro. Shalini, Halloween intro. Well, good night from me. Be safe out there, everyone. It's been great. For you.